When I say I buy these properties for less than $10,000, just because most of them are worth about $5,000 when I buy them. They haven't had roofs on them in 5 or 10 years. There's mold everywhere. This most recent one, we found 2 dead cats, and they flatten out like pancakes when they die. And, rigor mortis is set in 3 decades ago. It's bad.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association, providing benefits and services to real estate investors and rental property owners for over 48 years. With your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group.
This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com. Hello and welcome to episode 180. One of the bonuses of attending the RPOA's annual conference this past February is that everyone had the opportunity to attend a special Q&A session with Jeremy Cole and Ramon Huerta. If you don't know who these guys are, you soon will. They're the stars of Gritty to Pretty, an HGTV show that was just about to air its second episode and has since been picked up for a full season by HGTV, which they are currently shooting. Both Jeremy and Ramon are passionate about improving the neighborhoods that they're investing in, as well as saving homes that the city would prefer to tear down. Now, this is a wide-ranging Q&A that was a lot of fun to record, so let's get into it. Welcome to this very special conference event with the stars of the HGTV DIY Network, new show called Gritty to Pretty. I'm here with Jeremy Cole and Ramon Huerta. They are the stars of the show, and Jeremy is the focus of the show as he rehabs some of the worst houses in Kalamazoo. And Ramon is his trusted realtor and confidant and advisor. So I first met Jeremy and Ramon several years ago when I heard about their property crawl that they do down in Kalamazoo, and that's property crawl with a K. They do it every month in Kalamazoo. This is an event where they take you through some of the beat-up homes that are either on the market or in the process of being rehabbed by Jeremy and his team. Now, these events became so popular that they eventually reached the attention of producers at HGTV, and a pilot episode was shot for Gritty to Pretty, and it aired on DIY Network last year, and it was a huge ratings hit. Jeremy and Ramon, thanks for being here tonight.
Definitely.
And happy birthday.
Thank you. Yes. 33.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys are not yet full-time TV stars, even though you play them on TV. Yeah. Tell us what you do, for those who aren't familiar with you, and it seems like most people here are, but for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us what you guys do in real life.
So I am a full-time real estate investor. I bought my first house at 19 years old. I was going to Western for business finance. Did that for 3 years, dropped out a year before finishing to go full-time in real estate. And it was the best decision I've ever made. And so that's what I do full-time. I buy and renovate and then sell real estate, all cash, no debt financing. Every house I buy, I write a check for. The complete renovation, I write a check for. And when I sell it, I take that check and put it back in the bank.
How many houses have you done?
65-ish.
65 houses. And how many years?
13.
Good for you. And Ramon, what about you?
Right now, I'm full-time real estate. I'm an agent, and I buy and hold. I'm trying to add maybe 1 or 2 every year, doing a little bit slower. I've been doing real estate since 2000. Graduated in 97, came to a seminar similar to this here in Grand Rapids. I was actually flipping cars, and the reason I got into looking for real estate is I thought I wanted to do a car dealership. So I started looking for commercial property, and somehow I ended up at Amway Grand for a Russ Whitney seminar, and did the whole thing like this and paid for the 3-day training.
What was Russ Whitney? Who's Russ Whitney? What does he teach?
He was the speaker. It was a real estate guru that came just like everybody else here. It comes, and I did a seminar, and came back a month later, did a 3-day seminar, and after that I went and I bought my first house. I thought I knew nothing. I just started bringing stuff to the studs and then tried to put it back together. The walls were crooked, windows wouldn't go up and down. Then I had to get help, and it cost me more to bring somebody to fix it up. But that's how I am, though. That's my style. I don't do books. I don't do that. I'm just like, I get it in me. I'm like, somehow I got to figure it out. I got to do it with my hands. That's the way I learn. And I don't regret that one bit. And I've been doing it kind of part-time until last year, March, when I went real estate full-time.
Jeremy, one of the reasons I wanted to show that clip from the first episode is because you talk about the number of houses that are being torn down in Kalamazoo. And it really seems like you're on a mission to save those houses, those tear down houses, and create more affordable housing. So I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So right now, I'm a licensed builder also, and in the more than just the state of Michigan. Right now in Kalamazoo, it's too expensive to build in the city limits of Kalamazoo. It's $150 to $250 per square foot to build. And so, you talk about a 2,000 square foot house, it's way beyond the price point of what you can get on any of Kalamazoo's core neighborhoods. So every house that they take down, they be in the, I'll leave it at they. Every house that, I might get in trouble here. Every house that comes down is a house that will not be rebuilt unless the government rebuilds it with subsidized funds and grossly overspends, and we never get that money back. So for me, it's let's save that house. We can put the money back into it, save it, and put a family into it. And we keep them affordable. So when I say I buy these properties for less than $10,000, it's because most of them are worth about $5,000 when I buy them. They haven't had roofs on them in 5 or 10 years. There's mold everywhere. There's this most recent one, we found 2 dead cats, and they flatten out like pancakes when they die. And rigor mortis is set in 3 decades ago. It's bad. But I mean, they're really bad. And we completely gut them, strip them all the way down to the studs. We find buyers before we start now, so they get to redesign the house, spray foam insulation, which almost no other flipper's doing, all new electrical, all new plumbing, all new HVAC, new roofs, new windows, new doors, new floors, 96% efficient furnaces, direct vent water heaters. They are the most efficient houses you can buy and the most affordable on the market in that condition.
And can you go into the numbers a little bit? You talked about the comparison between if the government does it versus if you do it. What are your numbers? And if you buy for $5,000 or $10,000, how much are you putting into it? How much are you able to sell it for?
Yeah, so let me see. I'm going to give you the most recent 2 or 3 here. So December, I bought a house for $1. I did. I bought it from a nonprofit, and the nonprofit's only caveat was that I had to sell it, or I have to sell it because I haven't sold it yet. I have to sell it to someone that's going to use it as their primary residence, which that's my only goal. I don't work for flippers or rehabbers or any of that. So I buy the house for $1 or whatever the number is, but this one for $1, we're going to invest $40,000 to $50,000, and in downtown Kalamazoo, Vine Street, it'll probably sell for $135,000. We did one over in Edison, on Eggleston, and I paid $5,000 for the house. I've got $35,000 into it, and I sold it for $80,000. My strategy is I make my money on the front end. I don't, I hear everybody talk about OPM and leverage, and to me, that's risky. And I don't want to be the guy that's lending the money on those kind of deals. I'm the guy writing the check, so I make sure that every deal that I buy, I analyze. And so when I buy it for $5,000, I pour $40,000 into it. $80,000 is what I had better get, because $30,000 to $40,000 is my minimum. And my team is efficient, we're fast, and we get in and out in about 4 to 6 weeks on a small ranch like that. So, in a month, we can pull in $40,000 on a flip.
So are you funding the deals that you do with the profits from the previous flip?
Yes.
Okay, so it's all self-financed?
Everything is self-financed. There's no bank. I don't want anybody calling me on the first saying you owe us a mortgage payment. There's nobody calling me. I sleep well.
Okay, so most of us in this room are real estate investors, and we all know that first dramatic dream thought property that was our first deal. So that is what my interest is of you, is what was your first deal?
So the very first deal that I bought was a little property at 525 North Dartmouth in Kalamazoo. Overpaid for it, paid $40,000. That's outrageous today in my world, $40,000. And a mentor actually funded that deal. I was working with her for 9 months on her projects. She never paid me a dime. I was able to show up and shut up, and she taught me everything that I knew in those first few years. And so I would go to her projects. She'd say, Jeremy, they're over there doing roofs. Jeremy, they're over there doing flooring. Come over here. We're going to negotiate on this property. And so I just I showed up and I shut up and I just listened to everything that she had to say. And that was my start. So after 9 months, property on Dartmouth came about, and she said, well, let's see if you can get finance for this. So I called USAA. Any military folks know who that is. USAA said yes to the number, but no to the house. It was the worst one in a solid little neighborhood. Had water in the basement. It needed a bunch of work. And so they said no. And Janine said, you know what? I'll write you the check. I'll fund this first deal. So at 19 years old, in her office, she wrote me a check for $36,000, and I had to sell my, 1993 Lexus to get the $4,000 for the rest of it. Look at that. See? Okay. And so I bought a beater truck, and ever since then, ever since that first deal, I've never owned a vehicle that didn't have rust on it. It was like my good luck charm, rust. Yeah. So that was my first deal. I paid $40,000 for it. And then I poured more than that into it. We went to try to sell it for 90, couldn't sell it, dropped the price, and I ended up giving that back to the bank. I owned a bunch of houses, and I've only lost 2, and they were the only 2 I had debt on, the first 2 houses I ever bought. So I learned on that third one, I'm done with debt, and I was writing checks for every house after that.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com.
Nice story with an unhappy ending, though. You had to give
It's
it
a
back.
good ending. It's a great ending.
He's on TV today.
Well, no, but you had to give it back to the bank.
I did, but I learned my
that was
lesson.
your first-
For me.
So, but here's the thing: your first deal, you end up spending all this money selling your car, and you give it back to the bank, but you still kept going. Why?
So by the time I lost that first one, I was probably on to property 4 at that time. So I had
you were still moving.
Yeah, I was
along
still
with other
moving.
properties.
And so for my mentor, she said, well, Jeremy, you don't even know if you like real estate. A lot of people just want to jump in and buy 50 million units, but what if you don't like collecting rent? What if you don't like working with a property manager? What if you don't like working with people? That's what real estate is. It's a people business. You have to understand that. And so she wanted me to understand that. And so the first 3 years, it was Jeremy buy 1 a year. So I bought Dartmouth in January of, I don't know. The next year, I bought one on Dinway. The next year, I bought one on Wallace. And then that 4th year, I learned about tax auctions, and that just changed my whole life because I could buy properties for a couple $100, and that's exactly what I did. And so I went from 1 to 4 to 4 to 8 to and it just continued. This year, I'll probably purchase I don't know, a couple dozen. So did that answer?
Now you're into flipping.
Yes. I for the first 7 years of my life, real estate investing career, it was buy and hold. When we first met, I told Ramon, I don't understand why people would ever sell a house. When you own it free and clear, why would you ever sell it?
Right.
Well, for me, it was, if you don't want to go into debt, it's monopoly. I'm going to sell these, couple of green houses to buy this red hotel.
Right.
I funded lakefront property that I own free and clear by selling some of these green houses.
Right. It's monopoly.
It's monopoly.
As a realtor and investor yourself, do you share Jeremy's philosophy about buying the types of houses that he does, or what? How do you proceed?
I don't, just because I don't have that skill set, and I don't enjoy swinging hammers like he enjoys swinging hammers. When I first started, I was doing everything just like everybody here probably when you start, is because you don't want to pay anybody or you don't have the money to do it. So you're just working on weekends, evenings, trying to put it together as best you can. And so now I've learned a lot from him too over the years, and his frugality, and just kind of like once he's on course with something, he just kind of goes with it. And no matter what comes his way, he's like, I'm on track to do this. And other opportunities come to him, and he's like, nope, you know what? That's not part of what I'm trying to do. That's a great deal for somebody else, is not for me. And that's something I had to learn, because in the beginning when I started, I was buying everything. I mean, other old investors love me because they're like, oh, land contract? Yeah, I'll sell you this house. I at one point I had 17 on land contract, and it was great for the first 3-4 months until the roof started leaking and the furnaces went out, and then all of a sudden it's coming into my pocket, and then they stopped paying rent. So I just had to kind of find my way through that time. And like I said, I've been doing almost 20 years where we were at the peak and then it bottomed out. I lost a lot of stuff and I had to start all over, impacted my personal life. So now I do it slower, and I finance a little bit, but not, maybe 30-40%. I try to bring as much cash as I can to it. And I have 4 right now and they're pretty much paid off, and I'll just try to add one, and I'm patient. Before, even with him the last couple of years, he gets some great deals and he passes on to me and he's like, hey, do you want this? And as long as I make this amount, and I'm like, man, I can make this work. I could do it. I could do it. But then I have to look, I'm like, I don't have his team, that it's taken him 2 months, might take me 3 years, at my pace, and I don't like doing it, so I'm not going to do it. So I just had to kind of learn, and I'm like, all right, be patient. When my property comes, just stay on track, and then sure enough, every year it comes to me, and it's like, all right, that fits me, fits my skill set, fits my numbers, and just make it happen that way.
Great. Hey, Ramon, as a fellow agent, how do you leverage your license and your experience and the availability that you have as an agent to your business?
I actually only got my license because I couldn't get into properties quick enough. I never wanted to be an agent. I didn't want to.
You're in Kalamazoo, though, not Redmond.
Kalamazoo, I didn't. I was like, I didn't want to deal with anybody because I was looking at numbers, I was looking at nasty stuff. And when I would get some clients and be like, well, it's yellow in here. I'm like, it's yellow. You can paint it, it's like this and that. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to concentrate. And what happened is I was looking at so much stuff that other investors started coming to me and they said, hey, if you run, I'm doing student rentals. And if you run into this, just let me know. So I would look at stuff and I'm like, oh man, this is what John wanted. So I'd call him up, I'd be like, hey John, I just walked this property. You want to look at it? Come on, look at it. All right, let's write it up. So I just kind of started doing 2-3 a year, and then it went to 10. And I always had a full-time job, so this was kind of like part-time, but mainly it's always been like for me. Until last year.
If you are thinking of leaving your W-2 job and becoming a full-time real estate investor, one of the greatest costs you must consider is healthcare for you and your family. When I made this transition 5 years ago, I found the whole healthcare insurance process to be confusing and frustrating. That's why I'm glad I met Chad Creasy at RCB and Associates. Chad is a professional healthcare insurance agent who helps real estate investors and small business owners understand and choose their best healthcare options. And best of all, his services are covered by the insurance company and won't cost you a dime. If you are expecting a change in your healthcare insurance coverage for any reason, or losing employer coverage or transitioning into Medicare, then you owe it to yourself to contact Chad Creasy at rcbassociatesllc.com.
I got a question on your buyers. How do they finance the deals? And you said you got buyers for property. How do they find out about that? Are they listed with the realtor? Your properties that you fix up and sell.
Yes.
The people who buy them.
Yep.
They get financed.
Yes.
And they how's that process work for you?
Up until this month, the way it would work is I post a lot of before and after pictures on Facebook. I don't actually do any paid advertising. I'm always before, after, and some during.
You got a girl lined up.
Yes, on Facebook. And so every time I post a before, and especially a before with an after, where you can see this house that the walls were just so wavy and it's all full of mold, and then you come back and you see this gorgeous, staged out, beautiful house. My inbox just fills up. Dude, I want to buy a house. 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 Okay, let's get you pre-approved. And so we work with a couple mortgage, partners. Go out, get approved. Once approved, let's go look at some of the houses I own, and then we can start designing. So we just did one on Stockbridge that the buyers closed on in December. And so they came to me October. We got them approved. They picked out where they wanted the kitchen. We moved the kitchen across the house. We added a bathroom on the main floor. We moved the closet twice because they wanted it in one place, and then we had to move it in a different place because they changed their mind. So, I mean, these buyers, they see it on Facebook, and once they're approved, I know that they're serious. But I don't let them pick out anything before I know that they're bankable. Now, like I said, up until this month. Now what we're doing is we're doing it's similar to a 203K program where, okay, you like the before and after pictures. Now you want 123 Main Street. We're going to close on this deal. You're going to get funded, and then we're going to escrow the repair costs. It takes the risk away from me because right now, if they lose their job, or before, had they lost their job halfway through, I'm stuck with a house that they wanted pink walls in and carpet and all this other stuff that I would have never done. Now we get to close once. If they lose their job, they've already closed. The risk is on the mortgage company and the buyer.
Wait, you said that's a 203K?
It's similar to a 203K, but it's a conventional.
I'm not. What is a 203K?
A 203K is a rehab loan, but it's Fannie Mae won't let the seller also be the contractor. And so because I am the sole owner of the LLC and I'm also the builder, contractor, it's a conflict of interest. And so they won't let the seller also be the contractor. So there's a workaround. They just created a new program and at the mortgage company, and that's the program we're using.
Hi. How did you choose your team?
I went through about 50 guys to get to 5. And so, everybody says they can do everything until you get them on site and you tell them to do something, and so do this window. Oh, okay. And they don't know how to do the window, well, okay, we'll lay some tile flooring or lay something. They just, they're confident until they, are given the opportunity to do it. So, yeah. So I always ask folks, what can you do? And I say, if you don't know how to do it, just tell me. I'm more than willing to show you because I like working with folks that don't know 100% of how to do a rehab because they haven't been tainted yet. About, I know this. This is the best way. I'm the best. So I like a little bit of novice in my guys. That way I can say, okay, guys, this is the way that we do it. This is the way that it has to finish out on our projects. So I go through a lot of folks that say they know how to do to get to the 5. And this year we're going to be doubling our team. So last year we did a dozen houses. This year I want to do 20. And so I've got to train a whole new crew so that we can crank these things out.
In this city of Grand Rapids, I noticed the inventory is quite low when it comes to $5,000 houses. Exactly. There is nothing. Is Kalamazoo starting to dwindle down? Are you planning on going other areas like Muskegon?
You have to go back to what he said is he's buying the houses that nobody else wants. So there is some inventory there, but like I said, these are the houses that nobody else wants. I mean, we have.
They're not listed.
They're not listed. And even if they are listed, people are walking in and they just don't see the vision. And even if they see the vision, they have to hire a general contractor that's going to charge them $90,000 to rehab this 2-bedroom house that's going to sell for $75,000. So just for some people, just the numbers don't make sense, but they are out there. And I'm sure they're possibly here in Grand Rapids. There's some great wholesalers that are doing some stuff and getting in there and doing it. But people all the time call me and tell me like, hey, I want that Jeremy deal. I want that $5,000. So I'll show them the $20,000 and they don't want nothing to do with that. I'm like, you don't want the 20, you're never going to want the 5, So people always say, and that's what you have to be realistic. And that's how, like I said earlier, that's how I am. I have to be realistic. Like, yeah, I want the $5,000. I walk it, I see the vision, but I don't have the skill set like he does to make it happen at his cost. I would have to contract somebody, and now it's just the numbers don't make sense. So I have to look at the $40,000, $50,000 house to make it work for me.
So to that point, I actually haven't purchased a house on the MLS in about 3 years. Folks, I'm not afraid to knock some doors, send some flyers, send a letter. Hey, I'm Jeremy. I did a house over in your neighborhood at 123 Main Street. Take a look at it. I'd love to buy your house, remodel it, and have you walk it when we're done with it. So kind of get them a little bit excited. My grandmother used to own this house. And so I'd love to see it restored. We did one over on Manor Street. What did I pay for that one? $25,000, which is a lot, and had $40,000 into it, and it sold. I think that one sold for $136. $136, and that was a little rancher. but it was something that wasn't on the market. I mean, for me, you got to knock doors. If you're afraid to talk to people, if you're afraid to knock doors, if you're afraid of rejection, go get a job. Because you're going to get a bunch of no's, but one yes is going to be that $1 house, which will make up for every property that said no. So you can make $100,000 on one deal because you continue to knock doors and ask questions. So don't be afraid to knock doors.
Yeah. How do you both know each other? What is your personal connection?
Man, how long has it been? It's been a while.
Long time.
We got together at our landlord association, and that's how we met. Yep, similar to that, and we hit it off. And like I said, we talk real estate all the time, and that's why I said earlier it's the lifestyle. I mean, that's it. It is. We're either talking about real estate, beer, or beer and real estate, and maybe some food. But outside of that, and I just. At that time, I was going through a transition in my personal life too. So I was just getting back into real estate after I lost everything and trying to come back. And here comes Jeremy with his energy, and he's like, "Man, I'm gonna buy everything." And I'm just like, "Man, I need some of that." I'm attaching to him because I need that.
Let's do it.
Yep. And he's just and we all the time just have some serious conversations. And you tell me all the time, like, I would never sell something. I'm like, Jeremy, you have to sell something. Eventually you're going to want to sell. Nope. Yep. Eventually you're going to have to do this. And eventually you're going to have to grow. Eventually you're going to have to bring more. I remember when he was doing it all by himself. I'm like, dude, get somebody to help you. Like, oh no, I got to pay him. I'm like, dude, you're in here all the time. It's like, no, that costs money. I'm like, if you want to grow, but I mean, we all go through that, and I know I've just learned a lot from him and his energy and stuff like that, and this happened, property crawls happen, and things just happen to just merge together.
We got a question over here.
Hey guys, I hope this wasn't asked earlier. You guys were talking about flipping properties only pretty much at this point, right? Have you guys started diversifying at all? Because right now it sounds like you do have a job. That's what we're here not to do, right? Is like get out of the job market. Because if you stop working, if you stop managing your people, your money's gone, right?
The bank account's looking really good right now, so I guess I could stop if I wanted to, but yeah, I got a lot more years going. So for me, the first 7 years was, again, slow growth, buy and hold. That was my strategy. I understand that that's no longer an interest for me. I don't want to deal with tenants not paying rent. I don't want to knock on doors. I just don't have time for that. I make a lot more, spending my time and energy flipping this house. And one of the things I did is I bought basically a block in downtown Kalamazoo of houses. And so I missed the first presentation, which was on vacation rentals, because I'm going to hold those because our downtown is growing. And so now I'll have 5 vacation rentals all right next door to each other. I told you I sold those green houses to buy the red hotels. I bought 217 foot of lake frontage on one of the lakes in Portage, Michigan. And so now we're going to build 3 lake rentals that the property only cost me $30,000 total. And my cost to build is going to be so low that, I'm going to be profiting on these 3 vacation rentals. I don't want to touch an annual rental anymore. I understand you have to have some of that recurring monthly income, and I'll do that with vacation rentals, where they're there for a night or a weekend or a wedding or a graduation party. I don't want to deal with annual stuff. And so I'll keep doing the flipping because the TV stuff is a season. I'm not going to be there forever. So I'm gonna give all of my energy to this, because if we can replace Chip and Joanna and the Property Brothers, I'm all for it. But I understand that won't last forever, but it's here now, and I'm gonna give 100% of the attention to that until it's gone.
And real quick to that too is you have to find out what works for you. You come here sometimes and everybody's like, oh, you want a job, stuff like that. Like me and Jeremy, we're gonna be doing this till we can't anymore. Regardless of. We're not doing it because of a money thing. Even this show, it's not about flipping. This show is really about impacting Kalamazoo. He's transforming Kalamazoo. A lot of people say the flipper, he's just a flipper. I'm like, no, he's transforming. That is the mission. That's what his goal is. But that's what works for him. That's his mission. You know, for somebody else here, it might be something else. It might be, it might be motivated by money. Somebody might say, I just want to make 10,000, you know, and then you're going to go do what you really want to do and basket weave or snorkeling or whatever it is that motivates you. And that's great. That's what's going to work for you. For us, it's real estate, and we're always going to do it, not because of the money, not what's in an account. It's just what we're going to do.
Another question. Two questions. One, do you have a nonprofit? And I may have missed that in the beginning. And then second, is there a Kalamazoo land bank that you're competing against? Just wanted to ask, since we're kind of getting stomped here in Kent County.
He's going to take the land bank. It'll be a long conversation if I touch that one.
There is no nonprofit, right? Nope. So that's a great thing with Jeremy too. It's like, it's his money. Nobody can tell him no. Nobody can fire him. You know, he doesn't have to answer to a bank. He doesn't have to answer to a government entity per se. So when the land bank says, no, I can't sell you this lot, this house, okay, I'm going to go buy it from the owner or other ways. So right now, I don't see, Jeremy doesn't really have a competition. Like I said, because he's really buying the ugliest house, and not everybody can stomach that. Not everybody. Oh, it is successful, but I'm just saying he doesn't have competition. That's what I'm saying. It's not really competition.
I have a question in regards to the television show. We see a lot of these guys on flipping houses type shows. Is there any compensation for you guys from the television shows?
Ego.
Yeah, is it a little bit?
I get lunch sometimes.
Yeah,
and
I always wondered if
sometimes I get a beer. You know,
They pay for lunch every day.
That's sad, man. That's sad.
So their deal is you get a 30-minute commercial on national TV. Benefit how you can.
During the football season.
Benefit how you can.
Well, let's talk about the show.
Sure.
What's it like being on a reality TV show?
How many takes do they have to do hammering a nail?
Not that many, actually. So again, the houses that I buy, there's so many problems that it's not hard to find that cut scene before a commercial. Oh, what are we gonna do now? Break. I save $500 by switching to Geico. So there's always a problem in the houses that I buy. And like the first episode, there was a beam, or there was an old wall, and there should have been a beam holding up this old exterior wall that used to be, vertical studs. Well, the prior owner took that wall out and just lagged in a couple 2x4s that were angled. So it was trying to hold up this whole wall, and then they put a drop ceiling. And when I bought the house, I bought it from a hoarder, so I was walking on a path, like this, trying not to fall in old bath water and buckets. So I looked around like, yep, kitchen looks good. Okay, yep, got it. Let's do it. And so I missed this missing beam. And when we were doing demo, I stopped. I was like, oh my, what the heck is this? There's somebody grabbed some 2x4s, and we literally had to, pop some 2x4s in to hold this wall that could have come crashing down.
So that was in the first episode, right?
That was in the first episode.
Now, when they showed that, were they catching you in the moment, or did they have you go back and do it again?
So on that one, they did have me go back and do it. You weren't supposed to ask that question. It's all real, okay? It's all real. So when there's something good like that and it becomes a staple of the show, like the missing beam was a huge part of that episode. And so although they didn't catch it, in real life, I think I did acting pretty well on the second time around. What do we have here?
I think for me, the biggest thing is they record so much, and we're in there and doing things, and we're like, oh man, that was good. You did a great job, man. You did this, and you never see it. We're like, hey, what happened that one time? I had to do it 3 times, or walk up here and come in there and stuff like that. So that's, to me, that was one of the biggest things. They record so much, and I'm like, man, how are you gonna get just 22 minutes out of hours of recording? But it's fun. He makes the set fun. His crew is fun. They really let him be himself and run the project. So that's the best thing about it.
So with your crew, do you have them all employed through you in your business, or are you subcontracting everybody?
No. So I designate where they work. I provide the tools. I tell them when they have to be there, when they can go home. I W-2 my guys. And so I outsource all that back end stuff to my accountant. So they do the payroll. They do they've got access to my bank account, so they go in weekly and say, what property are you working on? Are all these expenses on this property? Or, because sometimes we're, like what right now I'm selling one on Romance, and the buyer wanted a gravel driveway, so I had to pay $200 for gravel to be delivered. That's an expense while we're working on a different project. So I had to let them know, hey, that $200 is for a different address, not the address that we're currently working on. So they go in, they pull all that, so my year ends are quick. They've already got all the information from that year. So I outsource that to my accountant, if that answers your question. And they're W-2. I only 1099 my insurance guy, or not my insurance guy, my insulation guy, my roofers, plumbers, HVAC, and electrician. Those are the only things that we hire out. And mold guy. My mold guy's here. I sent him a W-9 this year, 1099 last year. But yeah, everybody else that I designate you have to be here at this time, they're W-2.
So when it comes to your crew and your team, and you're shooting the TV show, do you have to spend time convincing them, hey, put this microphone on, or do it for the camera, don't freak out and run away?
Not really. I mean, we put the little lapel on, and it's under our shirts. I have to tell the guys, like, watch your language. It's a family network, so sometimes they'll sound like the last presenter, and it's like, you can't you can't do that. You're not here. It's a family network. So that's the only thing I've got to tell them is like, hey, don't, watch your language, guys. But I tell them that anyways, because I've got my nephew on site, and, I want to make sure that, don't cuss in front of him. Don't say anything, you're not supposed to in front of a kid, in front of him. And so it's pretty easy.
I guess I would have a follow-up question about that. You talk about your nephew. Does this give you the opportunity to mentor other young men like yourself?
Yeah. So I go to the local high schools marketing department. So every year I go twice a year and talk to the marketing class about the trades. Because what's happening right now is I'm on the executive board of the Southwestern HBA, Home Builders Association. We've got 340 members, and I think 20 of us, maybe 10 of us, are less than 40. Our membership of the HBA is about to decline drastically when everybody is starting to retire. These guys are still working because they're still recovering from the crash, but once they've recovered and they're ready to retire, you think it's a long time to find a contractor. Now, you wait till they're gone. So convincing new, younger guys to get in the trades is critical. Critical. That's a perfect word for it, critical. So I'm going to use, the position with this show and go out and try to get as many young folks back into the trades so that you guys aren't paying $100,000 to rehab your bathroom.
You guys did a lot of cool things down there a couple years ago. You decided to make yourself more of a real estate investing club than a landlord club. And you've kind of tried to change the direction of what's going on in the Kalamazoo education scene. But what would you say for you guys, Jeremy and Ramon, is the biggest thing that you think you've changed your mind on as far as your personal philosophy of investing or real estate this year that maybe 3 or 4 years ago you felt was more like your Bible and you just said, oh, that's not the case. We're changing things now. What's something you've really changed as far as how you feel about learning in real estate, or something that's really come as an epiphany to you guys this last year?
I think for me, it's been property crawl.
Fraud?
Property crawl. The property crawl event that we do.
Very well.
And because it's that true action piece. You can come here and learn from somebody, read a book, audio, whatever, but you still have to take action. And what happens when new people is, hey, you have to do this. And a lot of time they get distracted on forming your company, and you got to do this and you got to do that. And they spend all this money and they've yet to look at one house. They've yet to learn, like Jeremy, do you even like it? Do you want to be a landlord? Do you want to be an investor? You don't know. So it's that action piece of creating an atmosphere where you can come in. It's totally free. You can check it out. You can ask us whatever. It's catered to the participants. We don't have 3 steps, 5 rules, 10 things to do, anything like that. It's like, hey, this is a house that he just bought last month. This is his vision. This is what he's going to do. Bam, what do you think? What would you do different? Would you buy this? Do not buy it. Why not? What scares you? So it's really that action piece part for me, changing that over, because when I started, I didn't have a mentor. That's just my style. I just get an idea, like, looks good, let's do it. And then you find out it doesn't work out, but that's just how I learned. But I look back and I was like, man, if I had a mentor, I'm like, maybe that might have sped things up for me. Maybe that I'd avoided some things. But it is what it is. And we got together and said, hey, you know what? Let's create some momentum down in Kalamazoo. Let's get people excited about stuff, and let's just do it. And that's what happened.
Yeah, Ramon, you never gave us your comments on the land bank down there, and I'd like to hear what you think on that.
What I think, it's there.
Do you view it as a competitor?
No. Just because they have different. They have a similar vision.
Don't they suck up these $500 houses that you want to buy?
You want me to go?
Go.
The land bank. All right, so I don't know if I should do this. Should I do this? What I don't like about the process, right, is and why I've got a really contentious relationship with the county leadership, I'll say, is they enjoy taking folks' houses and then bundling a bunch of decent properties that could be saved with a gas station that had an oil spill and saying, well, if you want these okay properties, you've got to buy this gas station and you've got to fix every house in this bundle in 6 months if you want to buy, and you have to buy a surety bond in order to buy the bundle. They don't put that same requirement on the land bank when they deed these properties over to the land bank for $1. And then the land bank goes and sells those decent properties for $15,000, $20,000 to guys like me. The land bank is making $10,000, $15,000 on every single property that the county sells them for $1. That, I think, is wrong. And the other piece of that is the demolition part. I don't know who's getting paid on demos, but at 50 houses a year at $2,000 per property, our city is losing $100,000 in tax revenue per year. Next year, that's $200,000 total. Next year, it's $300,000 total. Next year, Kalamazoo is the #1 city for youth homelessness. Next year, we don't have houses to sell. It's a housing crisis. Next year, there's no affordable housing. People can't find a house to rent. If you do, you're paying way more than you should be. It's just going to get worse and worse, because as a builder and on the executive committee for the HBA, these guys are saying, Jeremy, we can't build in the city of Kalamazoo because I can't get my money back out. They're going to be paying $150 to $250 per square on a property on the north side in Edison, in the Vine district. Vine, you may be able to get it back now, but Eastwood, East Side, they're not building because they can't get their money back. Every house you tear down is not going to be rebuilt. There's not going to be a realtor that can resell that house in 5 years because there's not going to be a house there in 5 years. Nobody's building it unless the land bank comes in and plops down this $200,000 house that they paid to build, and they're going to sell it for $127,000. What? I think I should stop there. That's a good pause point.
What finishes are you using? Hardwood floors?
It varies.
Marble tops?
Marble tops? I said affordable housing. What do you think this is? HGTV?
It's still DIY.
It's DIY, okay? No, so we did step it up for the show, but the good thing is they pay for the upgrades. So I keep my properties affordable, and the niceties, I call them, that the network wants, they pay for. So whereas I would say, we're going to use an acrylic bathtub and acrylic tub surround, they say, nope, we got to have tile there. Well, I bring a tile guy in and they front the bill. I would use a Formica countertop. Nope, we want granite. I'll call the granite guy. They write the check for the granite. You want tile in the kitchen where I was going to put, vinyl? They pay for the tile. And so it's they understand they're going to make so much more money off of me than I am of them. They're going to put $10,000, $15,000 into the house. They're going to make way more off of advertising when the show takes off. So they understand we'll invest a little bit to get this back on the back end. So you're probably never going to see marble in the properties that I do, but you will see some nice granite. You'll see, black stainless steel appliances. Twala and I were talking about that earlier. We get some nice deals on nice stuff. But yeah, does that kind of answer your question? Okay.
So I was wondering, do you buy in bulk at all? I mean, you talk about I used to buy, 20, 30 houses at a time in bulk, and I would buy the crappy one, the 2 or 3 crappy ones that would go with that. Do you do that at all or no? Because I would expect a much better deal if I took those, and I just wondered if you ever had that opportunity.
No. I buy what comes to me. Again, I don't do any advertising. I do still do, I like to drive by neighborhoods. I look for tarps on roofs. Winter I love because I look for driveways that haven't been plowed. No footsteps to the front door. If it hasn't been plowed in a week, likely they're either snowbirds or they're gone or it's vacant. I like to send letters to vacant property owners. You can go to the BSNA website and plop in an address and find out who the taxpayer address is, who the taxpayer is, and you can find out who the property owner is. Just in case it's a land contract, those two people could be different. And so I send a letter to both of them. Hey, I'm Jeremy. I'd love to buy your house, rehab it, bring it back through when it's done. That's my kind of boilerplate spiel. I can't tell you what I put in my letters, but that's how I buy property. So if I could buy one for $1 and another for $5,000, there's no sense in me trying to make the money on volume for buying 30.
Follow-up question to your homes that you're putting in the show. One of the things that I heard and learned from Property Crawl was those upgrades that the show is paying for don't end up being passed on to the buyer. So the houses in the neighborhood are $90,000. With those upgrades, it would be $150,000. But they already bought the house at $90,000. They just have a really, really, really nice house, right?
Bingo. And
tell me, where did the start of your hatred of arches come in?
That was kind of a two-part question. I'm going to touch on the arches. So, on door openings, I don't like the round arches. I like nice, clean, sleek lines. And so every time there's an arch, John's my mold guy, that's why he brought that up. He comes in and he sprays the houses before my team and I go in because it's so bad. But every time there's an arch, he comes back and it's squared off. But the upgrades to the house. So before we start, I've already sold the house. I already know what the buyer is going to pay me for the house. So when we upgrade to granite countertops, or when we upgrade to tile or a tile backsplash or whatever it may be, the buyer's already paid $80,000. We did a house I sold it for $80,000 at a price for $95,000. I made my money up here when I paid $5,000 for it. I don't need to get greedy over here and try to push the whole neighborhood values up. 80 is fair. I make my money. The buyer has a little bit of equity. They can pull it out by a car, put a deck on, whatever they want to do. I don't need to be greedy.
So when you're doing what you're doing, you've already sold the house for $80,000. Before you come up with that price, have you gone through everything that they want in that house? Because, a chrome fixture, gold fixture is a lot less money than a nickel plated fixture or the upgraded towel rack, or, they want different things there. So if you've already agreed on that price and they start adding all these things, your profit's going down. So do you adjust accordingly on that? Okay, now it's going to cost you $85,000 instead of the $80,000, or are you coming to some kind of compromise?
So before we start, we do what's called a design book. And what that is you pick out the color of the floors you want. You pick out the finishes you want. You pick out the exact tile you want. You pick out the exact backsplash you want. And I price everything out so I know exactly what it's going to cost. And I call that firm pricing. So as long as you don't change anything, that price doesn't change. So later on, if they change it, then there will be what's called a change order, and we're going to add that tally up, and your bill just increased by this much. But that I haven't actually run into a problem where it's, someone's changed something so drastically that it changed the numbers. Like moving a closet, that's just framing. That's, 15 minutes. We'll rip the old one out, frame in the new closet, done. So I haven't run into something that drastic where it's.
And he's done it so much too. He's kind of has already the finishes that he likes to use, and everybody's seen. He has pictures, so when they come through, it's like, hey, we've done this 5, 6, 7 other houses, and this is what they look like. If you're cool with this, then this is what we're going to move forward. And most of the time, they're just happy they're getting a new house, and it's going to be very efficient and new utilities and everything.
So the good thing is I've usually got a project in varying stages. I've got a bunch of ugly. We can walk them ugly. And then I've got one that's gutted, got one that's, nearing completion, and then there's one that is done. So at any point we can say, I can pre-sell these by saying, okay, hey, let's go look at this finished one so you can kind of get a feel of what it looks like, it'll feel like, it'll smell like. But then let's go to this ugly one so I can show you, this is what it looks like now. Don't run away. John's going to come in and knock the smell down on the mold. And when we're done with it, in a month, it'll look like this over here. So it's for me, it's been helpful to have a finished house at all times. And so that'll help out on those ones in downtown Kalamazoo that are done and finished in vacation rentals. When these buyers are ready to start buying and we're ramping up, at any point, I can take one of those prospective buyers through one of those vacation rentals and say, this was a dump. This is what it used to look like. Now check it out. This is what your house will finish looking like when we're done. Plus, they can watch the show.
Yeah, where are you guys buying material?
I get about 95% of my stuff at Lowe's. If you like Menards, go to Menards every time. They'll give you a good deal. If they see you there every time, they'll give you a deal. You go to Lowe's, same thing. Just use them. You like Home Depot, just use them. I don't like to run around a million different places trying to price shop, spending 3 days looking for a cabinet. For me, it's, all right, I'm going to Lowe's. I need 25% off on my cabinets every time. Will that work? Yes. All right, I need this appliance. Can that work? Let's get this deal. Boom, boom, boom. And so I get deals because these guys know I'm not going over here to price shop them. It's, hey, I need 2,000 square foot of LVP flooring, and I need it on Tuesday. Today's Monday. Can you get it delivered? Sure, we'll deliver it for $20. Done.
Do you eventually want to invest into properties up in Grand Rapids or outside of Kalamazoo?
I don't want you guys to hate me, but I'll probably come knocking some doors up here and buying houses for $5,000. At next conference, at this next RPOA conference, I'm going to come up here next year. I'm going to say, guys, we sat in that room and you said no. And I just bought 12 of them in Grand Rapids, and I'm selling them to you for about 55. But you could have got them for 12. Those deals are out there. I tell you, if people are losing their house to foreclosure, there's always an option. You can provide an option for those people. Because when the county takes their house, the county gives them $0. I offer those folks a different option. I say, listen, the county's going to give you nothing. They're going to take your house on March 31st. After that, there are no rights of redemption in Michigan. You lose that house absolutely. It is gone. We can create a deal where you get $10,000, $15,000, whatever the number is for your house. You could use it for a down payment or a deposit on your next place, or you can stay there for a few months and get nothing. There's always that option. Knock some doors. There's vacant properties out there. Just got to find the owner.
What can we expect from you guys? What can we look forward to in the future, in the next year here, as far as what you guys are up to and the TV show?
For me, again, I'm adding a second team, a second crew to my team. So we did a dozen last year. I'm not so ambitious that I say we can do 24 this year. I say we can do 20. That's my goal. I want to put 20 new families into some affordable, well-rebuilt houses. That's my goal.
For me, I'm growing my team as well too, just because of the volume that's happening, and there's more people out there that just need some help, and I deal with more investors than anything. So just building up my team and getting ready, and enjoy, have fun, buy some more stuff, maybe buy a trailer park. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, Ramon and Jeremy, thanks for being here tonight and sharing all this information with us, taking our questions, and supporting the RPOA.
Absolutely.
All right, let's give them a hand.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's higinvestor.com. And you can also ask questions and join us on Facebook by going to RPOA, Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.